Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. As the UK COVID inquiry moves into its Scottish phase, questions are being asked as to why the Scottish Government made life so difficult, withholding information, claiming it didn't have messages, then claiming it did, delaying the handing over of those messages, and so forth. They're up in Edinburgh at the moment, and the lead counsel, Jamie Dawson KC, is claiming that the Scottish Government deliberately made life difficult for the UK inquiry. We have to ask why. Well, I think it's obvious. They don't want information going to the UK inquiry in case it goes to the Scottish inquiry. And don't want anyone to have anything, really, do they? Because they know the truth would be so damaging, which is why they're being very, very careful in deleting as much as they can and then pretending that they haven't. And yet they knew they shouldn't. It's going to be absolutely pointless unless they get the information. But hey, we'll find that out in due course. Anyway, he's out there today. We're going to take a look at this story to find out why, as he claims Humza Yousaf's administration is being so shady, so secretive, and deliberately obfuscating data and delaying its handing over in order to make life deliberately hard for both inquiries. Here goes. So SNP government made it difficult for the UK inquiry to gain COVID evidence, and we know that. But they were going to always be the case. They don't want the truth ever to come out. They cannot afford the truth ever to come out. And this one in particular, this creature, I had to be careful, definitely doesn't want the truth to come out, because the last thing that she would do is let anyone think that she'd done anything wrong, like, for example, corporate murder, because she doesn't fancy spending the rest of her life behind bars, although the rest of us wouldn't particularly care. Lead counsel for the UK COVID inquiry, Jamie Dawson KC, previously publicly condemned Humza Yousaf's administration for its failure to send all correspondence asked for to the probe, and confirmed that most had now been received, but with, as he calls it, difficulty. There is, shall we say, official resistance to handing over information because of this cult of the SNP that infuses the whole of the Scottish civil service like a cancer. The Scottish Government made it difficult for the UK COVID inquiry to gather evidence about its decision-making during the pandemic, as its position was blasted by the lead counsel. Jamie Dawson KC confirms that the probe had received a large number of documents from the SNP executive. However, this is not all the documents that were asked for, and certainly not all the messages that were meant, and therefore there is still a vast amount missing. This, I think, in itself needs to have a criminal investigation. But this only came about after he publicly condemned Humza Yousaf's administration for its refusal to hand over WhatsApps and correspondence asked for repeatedly by officials on the inquiry. Well, they needed time. They needed to go through and filter and sift and erase all the things that could be causing problems for them. It caused a scandal in Scotland, which led to accusations that the First Minister and Shona Robertson had misled Parliament. By misled Parliament, they mean lied through their teeth. And I don't think anyone doubts that those two are liars. Nicola Sturgeon and Clinical Director Jason Leach, again a pair of liars. And I don't even need to put, allegedly there. They lied, and that's proven. They allegedly deleted their WhatsApp messages. Jason Leach admitted it. He admitted, and he knew he shouldn't, and still did, because, he had to. He didn't want the truth coming out. He said, I delete them every day as a matter of course. Nobody deletes these things as a matter of course, unless you are doing so because you know the danger involved in them. Nicola Sturgeon publicly refusing to deny that she did. And by that refusal to deny means unfortunately, or undoubtedly should I say, that she has. If you cannot deny deleting them, then it is clear that you have, even when you knew you shouldn't. She will be grilled by the inquiry over the next month about her role in fighting the pandemic in Scotland. Well, her role was to make things worse. Her role was to create misery. Her role was to force people to wear masks, which has subsequently been proved to be pointless. Her role was to take untested people and shove them into nursing homes in the vain hope that millions would die. Alas, only tens of thousands, well, thousands anyway. But she got her wish. Thousands died. That was the plan, I believe. The Scottish Government was forced to hand over more than 14,000 electronic messages. Do you know how many messages were handed over from the UK inquiry? From the UK Government? It wasn't 14,000. It was something like 700,000. So the fact that they were handing over 14,000 means that there's an awful lot that aren't going over, undoubtedly. And you have to ask why. Why have they been gone? What's happened to them? It's obviously a cover-up. This included group chats and discussions about the virus. Mr. Dawson previously told the inquiry that very few appear to have been retained. There we go. Despite an order not to destroy messages being issued. If a single message was deleted after that order, it's got to be jail for contempt of court. Mr. Yousaf claimed that he had handed over reams of unredacted WhatsApp messages, but could not confirm whether his predecessor had done the same. Kate Forbes insisted that she had given over what she had been asked for. The UK COVID inquiry is sitting in Scotland and will be grilling a number of Scottish Government figures about their roles. We are unlikely ever, of course, to get the truth. And the fact that they're saying, oh, look, we've handed over 14,000 WhatsApps is meant to blind us with their fantastic honesty. What happened to the other 600,000 WhatsApps that you've hidden, that you've deleted? What happened to all the game chats? What's happened to all the secret voiceless conversations where you're covering your mouth like that just in case lip readers are around? You're criminals. It's the sort of thing the mafia do. You're all criminals. Opening speeches were held on Monday in Edinburgh, with Mr. Dawson telling Lady Hallett that with difficulty, messages from 85 separate groups have been disclosed by the Scottish Government, totalling 28,000 messages. He says, this effort, my lady, he said, as I set out in the last preliminary hearing, has involved a number of requests. I'm pleased to say that after a certain degree of political controversy over the issue, a large number, but that doesn't mean all, of the documents have now been made available to us. These will include messages from prominent ministerial decision makers and others in key advisory roles within the government, but the messages themselves will be bland and unimportant. All the good shit never went over. That will be hidden, deleted. That would have been done on other means. Why, I mentioned it before. This is why they're all buying video games so they can hide and cover up and, I don't know. And of course, they'll be untraceable because they won't have usernames that reflect the real names and things like that. Mr. Dawson also went on to ponder whether Scotland locked down quick enough after the virus found its way to the shores. And although there was a delay in decision within the UK government, why the Scottish government didn't decide to go ahead with the restrictions. From day one, the biggest problem from day one is that Boris doesn't have a pair of balls. He should have said, no, this COVID problem is a Cobra issue, it is a national issue, and he should not have allowed the likes of Sturgeon or Drakeford or any of them to have any say whatsoever. And it should have been a national Great Britain, United Kingdom issue, not a devolved issue. And just let her sit there, stamp her tiny feet and seethe. But look at the difference it would have made. Look at the absolute ridiculous difference it would have made. There'd be thousands of people still alive that aren't. The Scottish COVID bereaved also called on the SNP politicians to do better when questioned about their role in the pandemic. Amy Randwa said, in Module 2, some of the best evidence, the most unguarded evidence, came from WhatsApps and texts. Media reports have suggested that senior figures in decision-making, such as Nicola Sturgeon and Jason Leach, have failed to retain messages. And of course they have. They're dead. They're absolutely dead. Those messages mean jail. Literally that. That WhatsApp message would mean jail. She was more or less saying, with words that weren't quite the same, but more or less saying, how many people can we kill and what's the best way of doing it? We saw how in the treatment books they were saying, oh, we'll use this method. What's this method used for? Oh, it's a euthanizing. It's how we euthanize people. Put that in as treatment. And the treatment for COVID was euthanasia. That's what these people were doing. He said the SCB hope nothing of significance has been lost, because of course it has, because of this apparently willful deletion of messages. And of course Rishi Sunak did not provide any WhatsApps, and Boris Johnson's phone appeared to delete his WhatsApps for the first wave of the pandemic. We look forward to hearing how politicians and civil servants attempt to justify this position in Scotland when they knew over 2 years ago inquiries would happen. They all need to be jailed. We need to jail them, and if they're not going to jail, we need to be on the streets, get the lampposts, put ropes up and do the thing that needs to be done. And that sends a message to the next lot. Leave the bodies there rotting and say, that's what happens. Do your jobs, be honest, or that. And we are the people. We are many, they are few, and if we got up and angry en masse and millions of us go and do it, there is precisely bugger all they can do. We outnumber the bloody army. We can do this. And we need to send this message and do the job. And make sure that this never happens again. And that these sleeky, slimy, snide fuckers never get around to getting away with killing people and then hiding all the evidence. They're like the Third Reich. They are no better than the people who ran the concentration camps. They deserve nothing less. And they're hiding the evidence because they know what they've done. They're going to say, oh, we're going to have to live with this forever. No, no. Let's make sure they don't live with this forever. Anyway, while witnesses in this module may point to opinion polling during the pandemic favourably contrasting the Scottish Government's communications, I can't be bothered to read that. I've just got so angry, I can't be bothered. What they're trying to do is trying to justify what they've done. But what they've done is basically murder people and hide the evidence. And there she is, the Führer, the one who oversees the entire final solution of getting rid of those people who might have voted against independence, the elderly. Find a way of eradicating them. Genocide of the elderly, and it can be laid at her door because it's her door that it came from. I'm coming up. I keep getting angry about this. I think it's just Nicola Sturgeon's face. I just think I absolutely loathe that shitty little creature so much when I know exactly what she's done, what she's deliberately done, the choices she made. And then she has the barefaced cheek to delete evidence that she knows she should keep because she'd rather be prosecuted for contempt than what she should be prosecuted for, which in my opinion is mass murder. And that's why I keep getting angry. And I've got to calm down. I'll end up having a bloody heart attack live on bloody YouTube one day. Stop it. Calm down and move on. We'll move to the next one. Thank you very much for listening to this. Do please hit subscribe. Please ring the bell. Leave a like. Leave a comment. Please share the video. And remember that they're all bastards.